Swami Prapannanda for continuing to request me to speak. I joined in Belur Mount in the year 1966, and on 3rd October. Then immediately after that there was Durga Puja, and I attended the Durga Puja, and then the authorities sent me to Rajkot, the westernmost center of India, far, far away. And it took 60 hours train journey to reach Rajkot. You can imagine, 60 hours. In those days, the bogie, there was a bogie, Virangam bogie they used to call, which used to attach to the Bombay Mail. And that bogie used to be detached at Jalgaon. And from Jalgaon it used to be taken to Surat. And then there was another Saurashtra mail that used to come from Bombay and used to go to, I think, Ahmedabad. Virangam. And that used to be taken to Virangam. And then from Virangam onwards it was meter gauge. So we had to change the bogie. And then that meter gauge used to go to, I think it used to go to Somnath, that means Veraval. Virangam Veraval. So with that coach, actually used to reach Rajkot. So you can imagine what is an order. So when I reached there, Swami Atmaswamiji was the president of that ashram. Bhuteshananji, previously, he was there for about 20 or 23 years, I think. And he became a trustee, then assistant general secretary. And Atmaswamiji, he just had come after handing over the charge of the Rangoon Sevasram. In Rangoon there used to be one nice hospital which used to be run by the mission, but when the military government took over, they nationalized that, and then he had to give the charges and he came back. And after coming back, he toured, that means doing pilgrimage and all those things, and after coming back, that was his appointment, first appointment after coming back, Rajkot. He had said that he chose Rajkot, or he agreed to take over the Rajkot because there was a plan to build a temple there. Bhuteshananji started that. And the history of Rajkot Center is like this, that Swami Vivekananda had toured Saurashtra during his itinerant time for about 5.5 months or 6 months. And he met many Maharajas, Rajas there. In those days, the British government had kept the administration of the small states in the hands of the princes there. But they had certain sort of treaty that certain aspects of the administration used to be looked after by the Rajas, and they used to take care of certain aspects, especially the foreign relationship and all those things are whatever it may be. So in that way, Rajkot was fairly important because the resident of British government used to live there. That means that one representative of British government had his office, which kept as a liaison officer with the Rajas. And many states had their own offices for the businesses, and in that way it was there. The purpose of Swami Vivekananda's visit was to awaken the spirit of these Maharajas for the poor people. After touring India, he thought that this is not the right time to preach religion or teach Ramakrishna's teaching, because people are so poor, so uneducated, they lack health and all ignorant. So he thought, first I need to take care of these things, and for that naturally it required money. So he met them and tried to inspire them to do this type of work, but he failed. Failed means the kings were immersed in enjoyment, whatever money they used to earn, they used to squander away in what is called luxurious things, or for their own purposes. They did not bother about their subjects, if you call it. So some of the enlightened persons told him that, well, you will not get money in this way, better go to America. America is a very rich person and they are very large-hearted people are there. And if you appeal to them, probably it will work. So there was an occasion, as you know the story, that Swami Vivekananda took the opportunity of this parliament of religion and came back, and then things worked. And during this itinerant time, Swami Vivekananda made friendship with some of the kings who were later on some of them became his disciples also. I think Morbi Maharaja, then Limdi Maharaja, I think Bhavnagar, I do not remember, but in that way a few of them really became his disciple and follower. So after the passing away of Swami Vivekananda requested Ramakrishna Mission to start a center because they thought that there will be a good following and they will learn about Vedanta and Ramakrishna Mission and all those things. In that way they requested him. And Morbi Maharaja was instrumental. He had his office in Rajkot, Kuchi as it is called. So there he said that I shall give 2 rooms for starting the office and you can start there. And Swami Madhavanandaji was, and Swami Nikhilanandaji actually, Swami Nikhilanandaji first toured for the collection of funds for the Uddhava. At that time, Uddhava used to publish from Mayavati, so he had to collect funds, so he went there. And he also met them and the request came from him also that he is very eager. And Madhavanandaji actually agreed, and he also toured and he agreed to start a center in Rajkot. So the center started in the Kachari as it is called in Bengali terms, in the Morbi Maharaja's offices. And Swami Vividishananda, you might have heard his name, he was in charge of he started the Seattle Center. It happened in this way. First he became editor of Uddhava, then he became in charge of this Rajkot Center or Delhi Center. In those 2 centers he was head. Then actually he came to this country. And our Shraddhanand Swamiji, he told this story that before he had joined, he once went to make pilgrimage to Dwarka Somnath. That means there are 2 important places of pilgrimage. Very rarely people could go in those days and do that. So he took his mother for a pilgrimage, and he knew at that time he was a student in Belgharia, student zone. So he knew about this center, so he came, and it was some puja was going on. Durga Puja was from this border, something like that. And when Vividishananda was engaged in puja, he saw him, he just signed him to wait for him. So that was his first met him there. Whatever it may be, after Vividishananda, Swami Bhavishananda, another Swami became in charge of that center. Then another Swami, after his term, Bhavishananda Swami actually later on quit our order. And then came one Swami who was very illustrious, Atmaswarupan Swamiji. And he got, not exactly, he probably, during Bhavishananda's time, the Rajkot Maharaja, they gave some land at a very cheap price. Some land he gave and then said that adjoining land you can buy at 4 annas bar, that means square yard, 4 annas bar. So in that way he offered the land, but unfortunately there is not much money, so he purchased a little land around the donated land, and in that way ashram shifted there. And Atmaswarupan Swamiji was instrumental in building a small temple there, but unfortunately the temple was not very strong. Somehow we built because money was not there, whatever it may be. So when Bhuteshanji took the charge after Atmaswarupanji, Bhuteshanji was in charge of Shillong Center before coming to Rajkot. So he took that center, but the financial condition was so poor that it is said that he had to buy from place to place, that on the shop to shop to collect money. Bhavishananda Swami also used to do that. I have heard from the old timers. So in that way somehow he established the center, but things turned around in the year of 1963 at the time of Swami Vivekananda's centenary. Slowly things were developing, and in that way, I think in 1944, Buddhism went there, and in 1963 actually, things changed. Things changed in this way. There was a political luminary, we call it. His name was Uddhava Adani. He was instrumental in protecting this Junagadh state. You know, when India was partitioned, the two states, that means Kashmir was there. Kashmir is still a problem, and Junagadh and Hyderabad, they are also there. Their princes, that means the Nawabs, actually wanted to join Pakistan, but they are just pockets. So India actually did not want that. So there was military mission, military intervention in Hyderabad, but in Junagadh actually it was not done in that way. In Junagadh it was like this, that is this Uddhava Adani, he organized a militia. Militia means some of the volunteers and all those things, he gave arms and all those things, and in that way he attacked Junagadh. And Junagadh now actually fled to Pakistan, and in that way Junagadh became a part of India. And he, later on actually it was assimilated, and later on became a minister in the Gujarat government. And he became the minister of Panchayat, and 2-3 portfolios were there. So he was an ardent devotee of Swami Vivekananda. Actually, that spirit actually worked through him, you can say, in this organizing this capture of Junagadh. So he came to Buddhism Swami and said that, what are you doing for the celebration of centenary of Swami Vivekananda? Buddhism Swami said that, well, you see our condition is like this, we do not have money, and how I shall organize some lectures or something like that everybody is doing. We shall do something, but it will not be very spectacular as such. And at that time, before 60, Saurashtra was a state, second-class state as it is called, and the chief minister was Uddhava. And I think Lieutenant Governor was downside, that means the king or prince of Jamnagar. And because it was capital, Buddhism has good relationship with these dignitaries. That was quite evident. But in 63, the Gujarat state and Bombay was divided into Gujarat and Maharashtra, so Gujarat became an independent state. So Uddhava Adani said that, well, Swami, I have a plan, if you can execute it, then it will be very good. Because he was, as I told you, he was an ardent devotee of Swami Vivekananda. He said that from government I shall give you some money, you translate the complete works of Swami Vivekananda into Gujarati. And by that time, some words of Swami Vivekananda was translated by one publisher. The name of the publisher is Sostu Sahitya. They are still there. And the mission of that publisher was to publish in Gujarati religious literature or literature of moral value in that way. That was very famous. So selectively they had published by that time maybe Raja Yoga or Karma Yoga, like that, translated by somebody. But Uddhava said that in an organized way, you translate the complete works, I shall give you some money. Not only that, I shall buy them also. Buy them in what way? He said that I have libraries all over the state, and I shall give money to them to buy the books that we will publish. So in that way, two-way actually helped. And it was a tremendous task. Buddhism, by that time, he has picked up Gujarati very well. So ultimately he had to agree, and what he did, he appointed one very well-known literary person of Gujarat to be an editor. And he himself was also an editor. There are two editors, joint editors. And what he did, he actually literally told the complete works page by page and entrusted some translators to translate them into Gujarati. That means maybe somebody was given 30 pages, somebody 50 pages, and they said that I shall give 50 paisa for each page. And in that way, the whole complete verse was translated. Of course, other work was also done, that means biography of Sri Ramakrishna, biography of Swami Vivekananda was translated in that way. So there were 3 sets of books that was published during this time. One was 10 volumes of Swami Vivekananda's complete works. First 2 volumes, Sri Ramakrishna's life and Swami Vivekananda's life. Rest, the translation of the complete works. That is a bigger set. Then one medium set was published, which was Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, small books taken out from the complete works. In that way, set of 7 books or 8 books was published. And another set was published, like Chicago Address, or very important addresses by Swami Vivekananda. That was the little set of 7 or 8 books that was published. And as the money was given to the government, so all the, till up to the end, that means even the village libraries actually purchased that book at a concessional price. So in that way it was very strange. Strange means it was astonishing. Later on when I went, of course probably others also have noticed that in the remotest part of Gujarat, you will find in the library, maybe one library, Almira is there, or other materials are there, you will find some books of Swami Vivekananda. So in that way actually Swami Vivekananda's message was carried to the remotest part of Gujarat. I have seen when we enter a village, they asked from where you have come. I said, we used to say Ramakrishna song. Oh, Ramakrishna song. Yes, we have some book in the village, we have read that. So in that way they used to point out from completely unknown person. That was very satisfying to us that how Swami Vivekananda's message actually spread all over Gujarat. And in Bhuteswaranji himself became a very well-known means he spoke Gujarati very well. That means that because of this task he had to learn, and in that way he was very instrumental in the propagation of this literature. And I have heard from people that Bhuteswaranji learned so well that some of the literary persons also said that his Gujarati is fairly better than our Gujarati. That means he became so proficient. And similarly, another publication he did, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, from the English, from Bengali actually it was translated by Swami Chaitanyananda. He was, at the beginning he was a brahmacharya person, Gujarati person, Gujarati gentleman or Gujarati young person. He joined our order. But later on he could not continue, but he made his own ashram in Nasik. But he was a literary person, so Swami Bhuteswaranji invited him to stay during this century time in the ashram. He gave him room and food and all those things, and that he translated this Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna into Gujarati. He had the opportunity as a student to meet him, that means Maharaj Gupta. So he had that spirit, or he understood Bengali very well, and in that way the translation was made into Gujarati. And I have seen from one of the literary person, Umashankar Joshi, he was the Vice Chancellor of Gujarat University, and a very well-known literary person of Gujarat. I have seen once he came to Rajkot to give a talk on the occasion of some celebration, that he said that Swami, this book is a gem in Gujarati literature. So in that way, Gujarati Kathambit actually is become very popular and very standard translation. They are still continuing, that is the point. Very vigorously continuing, you can say. So ultimately Bhuteswaranji left and Atmaswamiji came, and with the intention of construction of a temple. But Bhuteswaranji's plan at that time, money was not there. So he had the opportunity of having the foundation stone laid, but there was no money, so nothing came up. So when Atmaswamiji came, he changed the plan and made the plan in such a way that it will become a very big temple, almost 2/3 the size of Belur temple. And he had very hard time to convince the Belur authorities to approve that. But he said that I shall do. So he took the task, and ultimately he got some money. And the estimate was about 18 or 20 lakhs at that time, rupees. But authorities say that you have to have at least 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs of money in your account, then actually you will start the work. So in that way the condition was made, and it so happened that in the year 1971 actually, there was a reason that it was delayed because there was a flood and we had to go for relief work. There in Gujarat is such, especially that area of Gujarat is such that it used to be visited by flood or famine almost every alternate year. So we had to do famine relief or flood relief almost every year. So for famine work we had to go to a remote village where food was not there, rain did not fall for 5 years or something, so we started a free kitchen. So we had to camp there with some Swami in charge or some brahmacharis or Swamis to live there. So that was, and also collect funds, so funds used to go for that. And that was the occasion of asking money for a temple because people were suffering. So ultimately in 1970 or 71 actually what is called the foundation stone was relayed by Swami Veereshwaraji Maharaj. The very big temple which was approved by the authorities and work started. And he had enough money to complete up to the plinth of the temple. Then he became a trustee, Atmasanji became a trustee, and after becoming a trustee he was called to the headquarters to become an assistant secretary. So the head of the center chain, as Swami Bomananji came from, he was in Allahabad, Delhi, Allahabad, he was from Nagpur area. So he came and he had the task for completing that project. So he collected fund and ultimately the project was completed in 1979. It took 8 years to complete the project. And the temple is such that by seeing the temple, if somebody has not seen the Belur Math, they will say that it's just like a Belur Math temple. That means it was comparable to that. And when it was completed, it was the second biggest temple of the Ramakrishna order. That means it is so big. And inside the temple, the same statue, the same size statue, same design statue, and made by the same sculptor or studio, if you call it, because the original sculptor had passed away. So his descendants actually made the statue of Sri Ramakrishna. So if the two statues, Rajkot statue and Belur Math statue was made and just mixed up, it will be difficult to figure out which statue is from where. It is so similar to Belur Math statue. And the size of the Garbha Mandir is also just 3 feet less. Belur Math is 26 by 26 and Rajkot is 23 by 23. And everything is marble and all those things. And in the same way, all the construction that were done, what is called the timber that was used for the doors, windows and all those things are sesame, as it is called, rosewood. And Belur Math temple is made of, I believe, what is called shal, maybe, or maybe what is the other, teak probably, I do not really remember. But the Rajkot temple had the distinction of having very costly and very durable type of timber there. So Atmasanji was, by that time he was in headquarters, so in 1979, on the day, just this Ram Navami was a good day, but auspicious day for the dedication of the temple was next day, that means 10th day of that month. That means just the day after Ram Navami, the temple was dedicated in the year of 1979. Swami Veereshwaraji actually dedicated that temple. And all the Swamis, big Swamis came there. And when the temple dedication ceremony was made, it was the largest congregation of monks who actually came to attend the temple dedication ceremony. All the big Swamis, president, vice president, general secretary, assistant secretaries, trustees, big people also there, and also all it was open for all Swamis. They were given free boarding, lodging and transportation, and also devotees from all over India and outside India also came to attend. And one souvenir was also published for the collection of funds, and in that way Rajkot temple became a landmark of Gujarat, and that helped us also in a big way. By that time, Rajkot was the only center in all of Gujarat. And after the construction of the temple, the attention of the people came to Swami Vivekananda and Sri Ramakrishna, and the places where Swami Vivekananda had lived. Then naturally we had this, we had the softness to have those places as a reminiscence of start centers. In that way, one after another, the place where Swami Vivekananda had lived in Porbandar, that became a center. The place where Swami Vivekananda lived in Baroda, that became a center. And in that way, many places, very recently, actually a center will be starting in Ahmedabad also. And in that way, people's interest, love, and all those things started growing, and it has become a very useful and very effective center of our order. And these are the material aspect, but because of the temple, we have got a good number of Gujarati sadhus also. That means that is the most important part. Previously, by the time when I had joined, there was not a single Gujarati sadhu, not even a brahmachari. So after I had gone there, slowly, brahmacharis, that means one or two young people joined, they stayed, that means they became monks. And not only that, after I have come here, I hear that now probably 20 or 20, about 2 dozens of monks and brahmacharis, Gujarati monks and brahmacharis are there in our order. So this is the story of the center with which I actually was associated. I came here in 89. After 89, I do not know, it will be not true, I do not know, but I do not know very clearly or not too much about the development of that center. But what I see from the reports and from the lips of our devotees visit, that it has become a really very important place and become very effective center for propagation of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother in whole of Gujarat. That there is no doubt about that. Is it okay or more? If you have any question, actually questions brings ideas and other things. Some 5 minutes. Is there any Gujarati audience? I would like to see whether there are. Yes. Yes, Chunava. Yes. You have seen us so many months.
I've been to the ashram, Maharaj.
In which year?
This
First.
is in 88, 89.
At that time I was there, but I don't remember.
I met Swami
Mokshananji, yes. After Mokshananji, Bhumananji, then Bhumananji, after that Mokshananji, then Jitatmananda. Then after Jitatmananda, this Swami who has come to, his name is, he also has come, his name is Anand. He has come to Rangatha. So in that way it is going on. Nikhileswarananda is not here.
Oh, okay.
Nikhileswarananda is the editor of this Vivekananda Jyota, that magazine which is now published. He has become in charge of that. Prabodh.
Maharaj, I like in the temple, they have even the ceiling, I think, is
Yes.
made of wood. That's something very unique that I found there.
Yes.
And the ambience is beautiful, very nice.
Every evening I hear that temple gets filled up during the Arati. It has a capacity of 800 people. So many people come and join.
And the location is very good.
Very good. Yes, it is not only center, a very good area.
Yes, very good.
Very good area.
And the gardens and also it's
Yes.
very much like many bedrooms. Beautiful.
So if you go to that part of India, you have to pass the Rajkot if you want to go to Somnath Dwarka by road or by train. By plane it is possible to go to Porbandar or Jamnagar. All these cities have commuter services, but Rajkot is still a good place to start with for the pilgrimage of those places. Saurashtra is known for places of pilgrimage. Dwarka, Somnath, Dwarka, you know, Lord Krishna lived there. All this story of Uddhava actually was enacted there. That means Uddhava lived there in Dwarka. At that time, Krishna lived there. And he went to pilgrimage in Prabhas, where actually they died, the Uddhavas all died. And before that, Junagadh was a very famous place of pilgrimage during the time of Lord Krishna also. So those places are very holy places. Saurashtra is considered to be very holy places of India.
Alright, I also found Swamiji's books in Gondal Library.
Yeah. Gondal Library is a good library. Like Gondal Maharaja was a very well-known, educated person. He was a doctor also, that means. And in that way, it is said that he brought electricity and underground drainage system in Gondal before the India became independent. That means he was a very enlightened king.
I was fascinated by the story of the translations being done by
Hearing the pages, literally.
Was that strategic as to not let the translation be too influenced by one particular translator?
Not really, but just for the speed of translation, I can say. You have to publish and have to finish the project. Yeah, I think that was the intention. Practicality.
Now, the closing song, I request Apala.
মাঝে মাঝে তব দেখা পাই, চিরদিন কেন পাই না। মাঝে মাঝে তব দেখা পাই, চিরদিন কেন পাই না। কেন মেঘ আসে হৃদয় আকাশে, কেন মেঘ আসে হৃদয় আকাশে, তোমারে দেখিতে দেয় না। মোহ মেঘে তোমারে দেখিতে দেয় না। মাঝে মাঝে তব দেখা পাই, চিরদিন কেন পাই না। ক্ষণিক আলোকে আখির পলকে তোমায় যবে পাই দেখিতে, ওরে হারাই হারাই সদা ভয় হয়, হারাই হারাই সদা ভয় হয়। হারাইয়া ফেরি চকিতে আসে না মিটিতে, হারাইয়া পলক না পড়িতে, হারাইয়া হৃদয় না জুড়াতে, হারাইয়া ফেরি চকিতে। মাঝে মাঝে তব দেখা পাই, চিরদিন কেন পাই না। কি করিলে বল পাইব তোমারে, রাখিব আখিতে আখিতে। কি করিলে বল পাইব তোমারে, রাখিব আখিতে আখিতে। ওহে এত প্রেম আমি কোথা পাব না, এত প্রেম আমি কোথা পাব না। তোমারে হৃদয়ে রাখিতে আমার সাধ্য কিবা, তোমারে দয়া না করিলে কে পারে অন্ধ করে রাখে তোমারে দেখিতে দেয় না, মাঝে মাঝে তব দেখা পাই, চিরদিন কেন পাই না, মাঝে মাঝে তব।
We offer our pranams to Maharaj, respectful pranam for all the very hectic days he had, and he did everything so wonderfully. And we are very, very grateful, Maharaj, for you coming, giving us so much of joy of the Bodhi company to your talks and all that. Maharaj's schedule is very tight. Tomorrow he's here, but he's going to Niagara Falls tomorrow afternoon, and then at night, day after tomorrow, early morning, he has to leave